Yes. Domus, okay, I will go also quite quick through Domus, but Domus was also a huge project, and we were contacted by Flavio Venese, which were at this time the director of Domus and chief editor of Domus, to redesign the magazine. And as you know, because you're Italian, but it's not the case for everybody, that Domus, it was created in 1928. And redesigning a magazine like Domus, it was for us a challenge also, because we were a small studio, we were young. We had, of course, experience in book design, but in magazine we were not really experienced at all. We did this one, and we did some few other ones, but a magazine like Domus was really the big thing. And all my friends designers just say, "You're crazy if you're doing it. You will lose your credibility. You will lose your studio because it's a huge work to do." And indeed, it was a lot of work to do, but it was a real challenge also for us to work not just on the magazine, but also on the history of architecture, the history of typography, the history of photography, the history of design. And it was for us also a project where we learned a lot. One of the first things that was very, very impressive is the archive of Domus. You have original drawings from Le Corbusier. You have this huge history of Domus that gets through the huge history of Domus. And because we were doing Domus, we were also trying to understand how the story, I'm doing that really quick now because I'm jumping a lot of steps, but we had just 2 months to design Domus, which were actually not possible to do, so we had to focus on some main topics. And one of the main topics that we decided also is the storytelling. And here, for example, we compare also in the several different architecture magazines how the same story of the same building at the same time is told in different magazines. So it was also for us very interesting to understand. Oh, this was our old office. You can see people was still very young. This is Sven Ehmann, which is also working at the Gestalten Verlag. We worked together for the development of the concept of the magazine. We work on the storytelling, how a story is told, how an architect is understanding architecture, because an architect is reading architecture differently than a photographer, and differently than a journalist, and differently than a graphic designer, of course. So we had to learn how an architect is dealing with reading architecture. Because we had less time, we decided to focus on the storytelling, as I said. I will come back to that after, but we decided also to create, quite similar to the Tremblant project, try to create really strong and easy recognizable elements through the magazine, and we decided to design an exclusive font for Domus. As you can see, and this is how I tried also to show you how we're working, because okay, one is the knife, as you can see, but on the other side, we tried everything what we're doing, we put on the wall. And for me, it's very important in the design process that during the process, if it takes like 2 or 3 months, that the first sketches we've made in the beginning of the project are still on the wall. Also, even if we are working 2 or 3 months on the project. And as you can see, we're still working very, very manually. We're drawing by hand, we are cutting and gluing the things, because one thing which is very important also in my opinion is that as soon as you print something, you cut something, you put together, you get a totally different view on the product as if you were working on the screen. So we redesigned this font, which is based on the Jill from 1920 to 1928 as well. We redesigned the font so that it became a display font for the magazine. As I told you, also we worked on the photo story, which was amazing also because if you have to tell a story about the building, Domus was sending a photographer in Japan to document a house in Japan. The photographer were taking 800 pictures of the building, sent to us all the pictures, and we had to choose a picture. And in the magazine, at the end, you have 3 pictures. So the thing is, it's amazing that we have also to understand how to tell the story of how an architect is understanding the building, and we know now that an architect is not firstly looking at the picture, but looking at the drawing. This is also something I will tell you after that. But one thing we've made, and this is a major decision, was to be able to build the structure of the magazine. We decided, because also the founder of Domus, said that everything is architecture, from the school to the city. We decided to mix the content of the magazine. We decided to dissolve the chapter structure. They had architecture, interior design, design, art, and we decided to mix all the content. And to be able to mix the content, it means one architecture story, one art story, one design, architecture, art, design, architecture. We wanted to mix the content within one issue to create one story within one issue. And to do that, we take our inspiration from the music. I can't go in detail, but from the music notation system, we try also to separate the content in different sizes, different importance. So you have S, like small stories, large and extra large stories, that we put it together in, and we create a column system so that we could create also a rhythm within another spread, as well as within a few spreads, one after the other. As you can see here, with the color system, we had the opportunity to build, to create the dramaturgy, to create the rhythm. Back to the story then. This is Flavio Albanese. I must say, for me, it was one of the most impressive, not because Flavio has the studio 2 stairs down, but also because he was extremely professional. He trusted us in our decision, and he also regarding all the decision we made. Because as we were working on Domus, we spent 1 month here, almost 6 weeks here, to work with the team of Domus. He supported us also in the decision we've taken, also regarding the editors and the journalists. He also supported us into all the decision making, and it was for us a huge recognition also of our work. I have the layout. Okay, maybe he's coming. I don't know, but you know probably Domus. But one of the stories was the cover story, because Flavio said, Flavio Albanese told us that for him, Domus is like a porn magazine for architects. And he wanted to create a powerful, he said, vigoroso, which means vigorous. Of course, in Italian, you understand it better than me. But for him, it was vigoroso, which means it compared Domus to a horse. He said Domus is like a black horse. It's unpredictable. It's very vigorous. It's erotic, and it's something that you want to dominate in a way, and that's why also we work on the cover. We were commissioned to make the art direction for the cover, but we figure out that Domus is most of the time Domus is glued into a foil. And they use the foil before us just to print the barcode. And they print the foil in 2 colors, just for printing the barcode, which was for us amazingly expensive for actually just the barcode. And we said, hey, we have to print something on top. So we decided to print one picture, an additional picture on the foil, as you can see. So here in this case, we chose this picture for the first issue we've made. It was of course a metaphor with the horse. The horse is wearing a mask because it was just after the operation. The horse is wearing a mask because he's getting up from the operation. He's waking up, and it was exactly the same. We had also an operation with the horse, which was Domus, and he's wearing a mask not to hurt himself. So it was actually the first cover of the magazine, and we put the rider of the horse, I don't know how we say that, rider of the horse, on the cover. And this principle, we use this principle for all the issue after that. So we cover the cover, we try to create also this erotic moment that you buy a magazine and you have to open the foil to discover the cover. This was, for example, regarding the Olympic Games in China, about the human rights. We put the fireworks on top and on the back the reality of the human rights, try to display that. And it was interesting because in the beginning of our job for Domus, we commissioned the photographer, or we buy pictures, and we were, after a few months, quite frustrated because we had the feeling, hey, why are we commissioning people if we could do it on ourselves? So we decided to shot the cover as well. We were not paid for that, which was a real pain in the ass because we had a lot of costs. We had to organize models, to organize studio, a photographer for 2 days. Still, we decided to do it. Here is an example. It was regarding the financial crisis with Lincoln, printed in silver on the foil, and the picture of the cover regarding the financial crisis. And here we worked with a photographer, a friend of us from Berlin, and so on. Okay, the one big problem with this black background cover was that in the kiosk, every month you have a magazine, and the magazine are normally covered like that, right? So you just see the top of the magazine. It was a big problem that the readers couldn't really make a difference between the magazine. That's why we changed the color after a few months as well. It's like every month we had another color. Here with the foil, we worked with typography. We changed also the concept. We cover the cover, but with typography this time, as you can see here. And then between one issue and the next, we had really strong colors to make it different in the kiosk. So as I told you, we organized shooting. Here, as you can see, this is the result. So we had to make castings. And it was also for us something new. Of course, we already made photos for our sketches, but we never worked as art director in this case. We even make the photos ourselves, as you can see here in our studio, and with a photographer, also a friend of us. This was for this cover here. And also, we were also commissioned by Domus to design the intersections, which were the supplementary content pages. And here, this is one example we did for the Web 2.0 topic. The magazine branch, the magazine media branch is in big troubles right now, because of the development of the iPads, the mobile phones, smartphones, the internet. The Web 2.0 is expanding and offering always more and more possibilities. So that it was important for Domus also to make a statement regarding that. For us as designer, it was also very important to make a statement in terms of production and try to understand how can we add some more value to the printed matter, to the magazine, the printed form. So we worked here with an illustrator. This is Tobias Krawczyk. We asked him to make 2 portraits of 2 Web 2.0 users, and we cut them and we spread them into the layout so that you can recognize them. And the only possibility to recognize them is that you have to fold the issue to be able to recognize the portrait. And it was also something we wanted to create because we worked with 2 spot covers with a different paper, and we wanted also to try to show to explain also not just through the text, but also through the formal solution, also that there is a huge potential in working with printed matter and working with magazines. So we worked also so that there were no explanation how to form the magazine in the magazine, but it was on YouTube. So we worked also with the web situation, and we asked the reader to go on YouTube to watch the way how to fold the magazine. You can see here the result of the Miss Web 3D product. If you have questions, please ask. I know I lost my. So this is the two portraits, and the big issue was actually to create an object out of the magazine. But we were also commissioned sometimes to illustrate the magazine. As you can see here, this is a story we made for the Salone del Mobile 2009, I think. It was regarding the financial crisis. So we made pictures also which appeared in the magazine. We get a carte blanche from the editorial staff. And these all are part of our team. The trainee had to do the models because we had no money at all. This is the story after this one. So here we displayed the quotes of the text on the street, and then on the next issue we displayed the pictures of the street. And as you can see here, we put the pictures on billboards, and we organized a demonstration on the street, and we document that, which were then in the magazine as a visual story. Oh, c'est comment?